prepared, and right on cue, the best Capcom in the universe, Megan MacArthur, came up and she listed every payload that a space shuttle arm had deployed and every major event and assembly mission that it had been a part of for the International Space Station. And I thought, wow, just what a perfect team. And it was a very fitting closure to an incredibly successful space shuttle arm program as well. So now Atlantis will continue its life. Its life of exploration is complete, and it will go on in what I consider to be just an incredibly fitting facility right over the hill here. And its life of exploration will pick up, or its life of education will pick up from this point forward, and I'm sure it will inspire generations of young men and women for decades to come. So thank you very much for allowing us to be a part of this event, and please let us continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Commander. Now please join me in welcoming the Chief Operating Officer of Delaware North Company's Parks and Resorts, the operator of our Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, Mr. William Moore.
I have no idea how these guys feel in space, but this is an emotional moment for me. To have this vehicle behind us and thank all of you for all you've done for so many years and decades. We wouldn't have this opportunity if not for all of you. This is truly an historic day for NASA, for the Kennedy Space Center, for the visitor complex, for the first crew that flew her, to the last. For everybody that worked on the space shuttle program, and thank you all for being here today. Atlantis stands as a symbol of inspiration for people around the world. It inspired us all in a launch pad, it inspired us in space, and it will inspire us again today as it starts a new journey. Thanks to NASA, the public will experience Atlantis dramatically displayed, elevated and rotated, as though we were flying in space, as Chris Ferguson said, in a new $100 million exhibit just over the way at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Millions of visitors will come to find the 60 interactive displays about the Space Shuttle program, including its key roles with the International Space Station and with the Hubble telescope, and how it paved the way for today's new coming manned space programs. With Atlantis, the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex is really the only place in the world to see space-flown artifacts from all four manned space programs and the rockets that flew those amazing astronauts and crew into space. Humble opinion, but the visitor complex is unquestionably the best place to experience and learn and be inspired about mankind's journey into space. On behalf of Delaware North Companies, I want to thank NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden, Kennedy Space Center Director Bob Cabana, for entrusting us to take care of this magnificent vehicle behind us. We are absolutely thrilled to become its stewards. We all look forward to July of 2013. I'm sure most of you will be there. We'll open it up for exhibit and can't wait for you to come see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Now I'd like to introduce to you our Center Director, the 10th Center Director of the Kennedy Space Center, a veteran of 4 space shuttle missions, Center Director Bob Cabana.
Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks to all of you for coming here today to be a part of this. I first saw the wings of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on the floor of Grumman's facility in Bethpage, New York on Long Island when I was a young test pilot in the early 80s. In 1985, when Bo and his crew were flying Atlantis, I watched closely as a new astronaut candidate, seeing what the future might hold for me. And in July last year, I watched with great pride alongside our administrator, Charlie Bolden, as Fergie and his crew brought Atlantis home for the very last time. It's something that we can all be extremely proud of. Today marks the end of a phenomenal 30-year program for the space shuttle. It was very sad, but you know, it's okay this morning when we watched Atlantis roll out of the VAB for the very last time. Because although it's the end of Atlantis flying in space, it's not the end. It's not the end for KSC. We're charging into the future, preparing for commercial operations to low Earth orbit, for exploration once again beyond our home planet, continuing to meet NASA's science missions with our expendable rockets to get our science missions to Mars and further. And it's not the end for Atlantis, because Atlantis now takes on a mission of inspiration to future generations. When I was 5 years old, we took a trip to visit my aunt from Minneapolis and Baltimore, Maryland. And I distinctly remember going to the Smithsonian and looking up and seeing the Wright Flyer and the Spirit of St. Louis hanging from the ceiling. And that sparked in me a desire to fly. And it is my sincere hope that one day some young boy or girl is going to look at Atlantis and it's going to spark that dream of exploration in space, exploring beyond our home planet and building on all the wonderful things this team has accomplished in the last 30 years and is going to continue to do. So, from me to all of you, my heartfelt thanks for your dedication, your drive, your hard work, your spirit of discovery that has made all of this possible and continues to make KSC and NASA the great place that it is to work as we charge off into the future. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our administrator, Charlie Bolden, the Honorable Charlie Bolden, okay? Now, a lot of folks would think that's pretty cool, but Charlie, more importantly, is one of the outstanding commanders of Atlantis. Charlie, come on up here.
I was telling Chris Ferguson when he sat down, I said, it's not fair. And I was asking him if it was because he's from Philadelphia or what. You know, I've been with Chris and the crew, throughout the final flight and the landing and everything else, and I'm always impressed by the four of them and the way that they have carried this. It's not a burden, but it's an awesome responsibility to be the representatives of the space program as the final crew to fly a vehicle in a program. And they have done it incredibly well, and Chris is always so eloquent when he talks. Bob is always so eloquent when he talks, and then I come up here with notes. But I have to, because I'm not quite as suave and debonair as are they. I do want to thank the Merritt Island High School Color Guard and the band and others over there. And Sierra, you were awesome. Let me tell you, the national anthem is hard. Most professionals who try it really mess it up. You were beautiful today, and I thank you so much for honoring us by singing that. Bob, thanks very much for the introduction, and thanks for letting me be a part of this program. It's just wonderful to be back here at KSC and to be with the KSC workforce. And as I look out and as I had an opportunity to talk to a lot of you this morning, because we were out here like 6 o'clock, they were doing a brief, and then rolling out at 6:30, it's really special here with you and with my old friend Atlantis. I know there's Dave Leetsma. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be, even with my glasses, and I know Dave Leetsma's over there, and I'm not calling names, but I was looking for my crew members who were with me on Atlantis, and there's somebody back there and all that. But it's great to be here. Dave and I were among the crew and the backups who had the privilege of celebrating the anniversary of the 20th anniversary of STS-45, which was my single flight on Atlantis. And we were in Brussels, Belgium, and Atlantis was the focus of Space Week in Belgium. I tell you that only because I want you to recognize the significance that the shuttle program has had and will continue to have. And that was not about history. That program was about the future in Belgium, in another country, where they see what we started with Shuttle, and they're just hopeful that we won't give up and that we'll continue. Bo, I want to thank you for being here. Chris, I've already said how much I appreciate your being here. I want to let everybody know something. You know, today is a historic day. It's an incredibly historic day. But I don't preside over an agency that's in the history business. That's not what NASA does. We're not a history organization. We're in the business of creating the future. And we're in the business of taking science fiction and turning it into science fact. And I think most of you here realize that. That's what we do. We take things that people say are impossible, and we make them possible. We dazzle people at the way we do it. It's always fun to come down here, because this is one place in the world where you guys and girls take something, people say it cannot be done, and you just go do it. And the problem with you is you make it look too easy. You know, you just make it look too easy. What we do is not easy. What we do is incredibly difficult. And you should be very proud about what we have done through the incredible 30 years of the shuttle program. It's also difficult to make a transition. Really difficult to make a transition. You know, Bo was there, I was there. There are some of us who were there between Apollo and Shuttle. Or if you want to really get to it, between Apollo-Soyuz and Shuttle, or between Skylab and Shuttle. There was a break. And it was a painful break, particularly for people who had been a part of the Apollo program. There's some people who still don't want to let it go. But you know, that happens. That's life. You have to just sometimes say, okay, we did great things, and now we're on to greater things. This magnificent ship behind me is tangible representation of a great nation, our hopes and dreams. We couldn't be where we are, poised for tomorrow's progress, without the space shuttle. And there are more exciting things happening right now here at KSC as well as around the agency. A little over a year after the shuttle retired, just this week, we completed the first commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station. A little company called SpaceX launched Dragon from right over there at Cape Canaveral. It's the first of many such launches, and we're well on track to once again launch American astronauts from U.S. soil in the next few years, right here from the Kennedy Space Center. I see Mark Sarangelo there. Chris Ferguson now represents Boeing. You know, these are companies that believe in the future, and they believe they can make that happen. And I think it's all we can do is trust them the way that we have trusted American industry from the beginning of time. They'll get it done. I'm excited about it. The passion and the dedication of the KSC workforce, all of you out here, you allowed us to proudly operate Shuttle for an absolutely incredible 3 decades. That same pride and dedication in today's KSC workforce will send us to new destinations like an asteroid, Mars, once again launching from right here at the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral. With your exceptional support, we'll restore those awe-inspiring moments of human spaceflight for the next generation of explorers. Those students, some of them probably over there in that band, or maybe even Sierra. Those students who are studying right now to lead us in exploration of the most incredible exploration era ever. It's now NASA's honor to permanently house this magnificent spacecraft right here, where she rose to the skies 33 times, carrying 156 men and women. She's truly a testament to American ingenuity, to the dedication and passion of this workforce, and of our nation to reach higher than ever and do what has not been done before. The Space Shuttle program has been a proud achievement for our nation. With 30 years of missions launching satellites like Magellan and Galileo aboard Atlantis, expanding our international partnerships with visits to Mir and flying crew members from around the world, building the International Space Station and demonstrating that America, indeed, the world, had a new home and has a new home in low Earth orbit. Those of us who flew Atlantis will never forget the experience, as Chris talked about. For those who made that possible here at Kennedy by processing this amazing vehicle time and time again, to those who watched in awe as she launched and maneuvered in space and did incredible things, those memories the inspiration, that passion is still yours. America still leads the world in exploration, and we're building on the many fine accomplishments of the Space Shuttle program to take us where we've not gone before.